Well, the first round was chemo, and they told me I had like an 88% chance of coming through the chemo. And I got chemo for about 8 or 9 months. And after my first round, I went into remission, and everything was fine. But after about, in the spring of '04, they did a chromosome check on me, and there was an abnormality with my chromosomes. So they knew that there was something wrong, that the chemo didn't work, and that I was going to have stem cell or bone marrow transplant. You're laying in a hospital, and every day is a new day, and every day they're coming in to tell you whether or not they found a donor. And the day that they came in and told me that, everybody was super excited.
As far as giving and giving the traditional way, it was not bad. I didn't think it was a fairly easy thing, fairly easy ordeal. It's you go in and they prep you just like they would for a surgery that morning, and I was in recovery a couple hours later, and stayed in recovery there for a couple hours, and they discharged me directly from recovery.
The day of the transplant actually went really smooth for me, because it was just another day in the hospital for me, and all I had to do was just lay there and get my IV like any other day, but I was getting stem cells. And I think it took maybe 4 or 5 hours after the whole process was over with. At that point, I didn't really think of, whether it was going to work or not. I just knew that the first option didn't work, and this was the second step of what they said that I would be going through in case the chemo didn't work in the first place. So again, I was just going along with what the doctors were telling me to do, and thankful that they had found a match. And after the transplant, the doctors were completely amazed, because usually after a stem cell transplant or any type of transplant, patients receive some type of blood transfusion or plasma or something, but I didn't have to have any of that. And obviously I thought that was good. And I was talking with my doctor, and he's like, yeah, I guess we'd have to call you the poster child, because you're the first patient ever down here in Rochester at the Mayo Clinic to go through a stem cell transplant or any type of transplant and not receive a transfusion afterwards.
I had an immediate update on the recipient after donating within a week. Of course, they told me his receipt was fine, everything went great in the hospital, and then I don't know if it's then or a couple days later, she called me back, told me he was out of the hospital and he was looking great, said he was actually back at school within a very small amount of time period, and he was doing well.
I haven't had any contact. I had found out that some information that he was from Alabama and that it was a guy. But really, that was all I knew. And then I got a call from you guys asking me if I wanted to meet him.
Sometimes I know I've seen some reunions of donor recipient, organ donor recipients and that type thing, and sometimes after time it's even more pronounced, I guess, emotionally. But I don't know how I'll greet Mark. I gave out of the original intent that I gave for, and that was for a friend of mine. And that's why I got on the registry. How you feel?
I feel awesome.
Good.
How do you feel?
I don't know what you look like before, but you look good.
Be the Match to me is obviously something very special and important to me, because if it wasn't for everybody that's involved in it, and for my donor and all my doctors and everybody that got together and made this happen, obviously this interview probably wouldn't be taking place.
Be the Match to me means, it's provided me a means to give something that means something, of course, to someone else, the recipient. It means life. And, but it afforded me the opportunity to do it with very, very little sacrifice, very little discomfort, very little pain, I would say. And the program was great all the way through. I had no financial outlay that I had to do. Everything was provided. People were great in the program. And, to be able to give a person life, basically, with no sacrifices is quite remarkable.